"You're really smart for a girl." This was something that I heard time and time again growing up. And it was meant as a compliment, of course. But I always felt offended. My take and offense, though, had nothing to do with the fact that my gender had unnecessarily been equated to my intelligence, at their assumption that being a girl made me inherently less capable, though I now realize it should have had. Rather, I was offended because I shared their assumption. Their compliment was not a compliment to me because being smart for a girl meant less. Girls weren't that smart after all. As a child, that's how the media taught me to think. Feminism has been incredibly successful in achieving legal milestones, voting rights, reproductive rights, etc. And while many still remain, it is widely accepted that the next step in achieving gender equality will be through the way that women are perceived. And the media, theoretically, provides the perfect platform for this. Yet unfortunately, the fast and the dramatic cycle of trends that is so embedded in the culture of social media fosters the perpetuation of extremes, dragging us along, leaving little space for women to make their own decisions about their own lives and the general direction of the movement. Corporate girl bosses, the hatred of pink, and the glorification of the tomboy. The 2010s saw the rise of the cutthroat corporate queen, embodying power, success, and so-called female independence. She grinds her competition to dust under the heel of her red bottoms while artfully commanding a boardroom meeting. She is cold, she is career-driven, and she is unempathetic. Everything a 1950s housewife wasn't allowed to be. And it was a desire to be valued, to be taken seriously in the workplace, and for general empowerment that drove this phenomenon in women. And it did lead to the forward propulsion of the few highly successful and economically independent girl bosses who frankly benefited from numerous other privileges that didn't relate to gender. But what it didn't do is actually alter the way that women were perceived as a whole. This trickled down to interactions between children. Girly became an insulting adjective, dolls were an embarrassing thing to be playing with, and every girl I knew wanted to be a tomboy. And the girls who, when asked their favorite color, who would openly answer pink, were hard to find. And very few of us thought the color was ugly visually. I mean, speaking for myself, I didn't hate the tone or the shade, but rather I was repulsed by what it represented. Girlhood. We tried to distance ourselves from everything traditionally feminine. We wanted to prove that we were strong so that we could undermine the stereotype that women were weak. But in reality, it just came across as self-loathing. Because if success in the workplace is defined by having masculine attributes and playground popularity is dictated by who likes boyish things and who likes boyish clothes, then what actually makes us powerful as girls? We start to believe that, yes, individual women may be powerful and worthy of respect, but femininity is not. Girl maths, I'm just a girl, and girl dinner. How many of you have heard of them? These trends have dominated Twitter timelines, For You pages, and Instagram feeds over the past year as a direct opposing force to this girl boss phenomenon. And as far as I'm concerned, the reclamation of girlhood was much needed. I'd had enough of the villainization of traditionally female traits and feminine hobbies, and it was really nice and really refreshing to finally be celebrated for liking having my nails and my hair done and going out shopping with my friends. But when and how do we begin to associate incorrect calculations and financial mismanagement with being a girl? Girl math is making money from returning an item. It's paying in cash because that way it's free, right? And it's buying a bag instead of paying your rent because that bag is an investment. But unfortunately, what girl maths is not is correct. Trad wives began to gain traction as their lives were envied and romanticized on the internet. And suddenly, we all wanted to tap into our divine feminine energy, which online was being used to describe being very soft-spoken and handing your power off to a man. And that's weird, right? I want to emphasize that the intention behind these trends was not malicious, and I know that. I'm Just a Girl originally felt like a desperate response to the injustice women felt being held to a much higher standard than their male counterparts. It was our positive version of boys will be boys, which we had heard constantly growing up as an excuse for misbehavior and immaturity. And girl dinner was this fun way of undermining the expectation, the exhausting expectation that women should cook extravagant meals for their family every evening. But when girl dinner becomes the description of an extraordinary small plate of non-nutritious food which bears a striking and scary resemblance to pro-Anna Tumblr, and I'm Just a Girl is now a motto being used to follow a mistake or a silly decision, it starts to feel more sinister. because we start to believe that while being a girl is something fun, it isn't something that we should take seriously. And now, while femininity is something to be celebrated, again, worthy of respect, not so much. And none of the trends that I've mentioned are wrong in theory. There is nothing better or worse about choosing to be a CEO than being a stay-at-home mother, and there is nothing more or less valid about liking footballs and flannels to dresses and dolls. They are all choices women should be allowed to make. But as feminism is about choice, it becomes problematic when waves of these trends bombard us into losing our autonomy and following blindly. This is significantly reinforced by the lack of constructive conversation that surrounds the movement. Fear of being cancelled and labeled anti-feminist stops many women from speaking out, and some even stops them from going against the grain entirely. Trend culture is dictating the direction that feminism moves in, or worse, stagnating its growth overall. And whether one agrees with the individual trends themselves or not, extreme reliance on them removes the individual choice of women, therefore undermining the entire movement and weakening it, because it should not be steered by anyone but us. And I cannot provide an all-encompassing solution. And more importantly, I will not, because it would be entirely hypocritical of me to tell you what to do and what to think about the problem of you constantly being told what to do and what to think. If you want to post to a trend, if you think something is funny or relatable, do it, because that is what it's there for, and that is your right, that is your choice. I just ask you to consider what the implications of that may be to someone who isn't aware of the more funny and comedic undertones. Beyond that, I again would like to reiterate the importance of constructive conversation surrounding feminism to keep the voices of real women in the movement and stop the echo chamber from sealing itself up entirely. I then want you to consider what feminism means to you as individuals, because that is what it's about. Feminism is about you and it is for you. How can you use it as a tool for yourself for its intended purpose of helping you and liberating you, rather than as something that is going to make you feel guilty for straying from the collective? And so, I just want to leave you with the words of Naomi Wolf to finish. I conclude that the enemy is not lipstick, but guilt itself. We deserve lipstick if we want it. Thank you.